Hello students, in this lecture we are going to focus mainly on dimensions of democracy, and in this dimensions of democracy we will be focusing in particular on social, economic and political democracy. What do we mean by social democracy? What do we mean by economic democracy? And what do we mean by political democracy? These are the three aspects of democracies. So we are going to discuss and learn one by one. So let's begin. First, we will look at social democracy. In social democracy, mainly we focus on three aspects again. First is freedom, second is justice, and third is solidarity. We have to remember these three words to understand the concept of social democracy. Freedom, justice, and solidarity. Freedom, we all know that in every democracy, citizens get freedom in some or the other forms. In India, we have term or we have a different chapter on fundamental rights. Here we have the complete list of the rights of Indian citizens, to which we call fundamental rights, wherein we have right to liberty, equality, justice, everything. Okay. Then you have justice, wherein we can say that everyone is treated equally in the eyes of law. What do you mean by that? And whenever you will be approaching to judiciary, judiciary will look at you as per the law. It's not that one person belongs to one caste or one religion or something different, so discrimination will be based on that or something like that. So it is not going to work in that way. Every person will be treated equally by the judiciary, irrespective of your religion, caste, gender, whatever. Okay. So justice will be provided equally to each and every citizen. Then solidarity. Now, what do you mean by solidarity? Willingness to help each other. Okay. Solidarity is something where you have willingness to help each other. It shows, we can say, a notion of unity, sense of unity. And sense of unity is very important in social democracy. Through unity itself, we can achieve social democracy. If society is divided in so many fractions, so it becomes quite difficult to achieve social democracy. So for that reason, we need solidarity, we need unity to realize social democracy. So here, every individual should be able to decide how she or he lives. When we talk about freedom, so every individual should get right to decide what is good for him or her and what is bad. Okay. So in this way, we can say every individual should get equal liberty, equal, we can say, rights, so that they can develop themselves as better citizen of the country. Third, we can say the state should not interfere much and arbitrarily. Here, importance is given to what? Liberty, right? Freedom. And if in that freedom, state or society is interfering unnecessarily, arbitrarily, so that becomes quite difficult for an individual to grow and develop. And therefore, it is expected that state or society should stay away from individual's life unless and until he or she is doing something wrong and harmful to the society. Okay, so that is the complete, you can say, picture of liberty over here in social democracy. Next point is equal opportunities. Equal opportunities in society. Okay, so it means what? There will be no discrimination on the basis of religion or caste or gender. Okay, so that he or she will not get equal chance. Such, we can say, possibility is neglected over here. In social democracy, such possibility is kept aside. because every person gets equal opportunity in social democracy. So that irrespective of any gender, any religion, any caste, you will get equal opportunity to develop and grow. Okay, so that is something called equal social opportunities, wherein discrimination is completely kept at side and equal, we can say, importance is given to each and every citizen of the country. So here we have two terms, one is negative liberty and second is positive liberty. As I just said, when we talk about negative liberty, it is something where immediately you get protection from the interference from what? Interference from state, that is government, and interference from the society. You should get such atmosphere wherein these people or outsiders or third party will not interfere in your internal affairs or in your internal issues. What you should do, what you should eat, what you should wear, it is completely your right, individual's rights. So therefore, society or we can say government is not expected to interfere in individual's life unnecessarily. Okay, that is the thing. And second is positive liberty. Here, positive liberty is what? We can say list of all rights in India, but what if you are not able to utilize those rights? Okay, that is quite doubtful again. So irrespective of having all the fundamental rights and legal rights, everything, if you are not able to utilize that, if you are not able to perform that or practice that, so that liberty is of no use, right? So for that reason also, you need protection from the state. You need such atmosphere in which you can very easily practice your rights in the society without any kind of external pressure. Okay, so that is something which is expected here in social democracy, wherein you will be having certain rights and such atmosphere will be created in which you can very freely and very positively practice your civil rights. Okay, so that's about one of the factor in social democracy. But when talk about that negative liberty and positive liberty, so there is a mixture of all these liberties in social democracy. Means what? In social democracy, you have negative liberty also, and you have positive liberty also. So it is like we can say combination or mixture of both of these liberties, which can be seen in social democracy. And most important point is, it is a journey. Social democracy is what? Social democracy is a peaceful journey, or you can say peaceful transition from capitalism to socialism. It is a journey or transition from capitalism to socialism. We all know about capitalism. Capitalism means what? Means of production is controlled by few people, and remaining, you can see, majority people doesn't have in their hand. Okay, so that is something where you can say capitalism comes in. Whereas socialism, in socialism, means of production is controlled by all people. Okay, in capitalism, means of production is controlled by few people, whereas in socialism, means of production is controlled by all people. Now, what do you mean by means of production? Any such mechanism through which you are getting some output. For example, land, labor, capital. Okay, you have capital, you have land. Okay, let's take the example of land. Land is there, you can do farming on that land and you can get the output. Okay, so in capitalism, land will be controlled by only few people, whereas in socialism, land will be controlled by all the people. Means what? Common ownership will be there. That land will not belong to one or two people, right? So it will belongs to all people. Okay, that is the essence of social democracy. So here in social democracy, we are trying to bring, we can say, equality. We are trying to bring all sections at one parallel level. Okay, right now in many countries you might witness that few are very rich and few are very poor. So there is a huge gap between rich and poor. So this social democracy tries an attempt to bring these rich and poor on the same level, and all people will live common life. No one will be rich and no one will be poor. Everyone will be equal in society. So that was about social democracy. Now let's talk about economic democracy. So now economic democracy, the word as itself says, it's all about economics, it's all about finances. Okay. So economic democracy is a socio-economic philosophy that proposes to shift decision-making power from corporate managers and corporate shareholders to larger group of public stakeholders that includes workers, customers, and suppliers. Means what? Decision-making authority will not be given to only one section. Okay. Important decision-making authority will be given equally to lower section also. Okay. So here you have, you can say upper class and lower class. So this economic democracy is attempting to give equal power to even lower class as well, which we can say workers, or suppliers or small traders, okay, or wage laborers. They all falls under this category. So it says that the decision making capacity should be given to all of these people. Decision making authority should be given to all of these people, and only few people should not have right, or you can say authority over such things. And secondly, wealth. When it comes to wealth, wealth should be equally divided between people. Okay, wealth should be equally divided. At present, if you see the you can say proportion of distribution of wealth, it is like only hardly 2 to 3% people of the world, around 2 or 3% people of the world are controlling almost 80% property in their hands. Okay, only these 2-3% people are controlling 80% property of the world. So we can say there is a huge gap between rich and poor. So these, we can say, social, economic, and political democracies, they are somewhere trying to bring each and everyone on the parallel or equal level. Okay, the gap which is there between rich and poor, they are doing an attempt. They are attempting to bring all the classes on equal platform, so that there will be no rich, there will be no poor, everyone will be equal. Okay, and secondly, the opportunity. How can we forget about opportunity? Everyone should get equal opportunity to earn the wealth. Okay, when we are talking about bringing every class on parallel level, what does it mean? It simply means that everyone should get equal and free and fair opportunity to earn the wealth. Okay, so that's what is expected in economic democracy. Thirdly, it talks about progressive taxation. Now, what do you mean by progressive taxation? See, taxation is of two types. One is progressive and second is regressive. Progressive taxation is that in which rich people will be taxed more and poor people will be taxed less. Okay, more tax will be collected from rich people and less tax will be collected from the poor people. It is called as progressive taxation. Second is regressive taxation. Okay, regressive taxation. In this concept, what do we have? We can say rich people will be paying less tax and poor people will pay more tax. So reverse situation is here. Rich people will pay very less tax, whereas poor people will pay very high tax. So if you just compare these two, you can say taxations. So one can say, simply say that first one is better, progressive taxation is better and not regressive taxation. But if you take the example of most of the countries, including India, we are following both the systems. In India also, we have progressive taxation and we have regressive taxation as well. It means what? That when we are talking about income tax, okay, when you talk about income tax, through this income tax, you are charging more money, or we are collecting more money from rich people. If you are earning more money, you will have to give more income tax. If you are earning less money, then you will have to give less income tax to the government. Whereas if you talk about indirect taxes in India, okay, indirect taxes, like for example GST, right, goods and services tax, which is equal for all of us, whether you are rich, whether you are poor, doesn't matter, equal taxation is there. So if we can say a rich person goes to a particular shop and if he tries to buy a mobile phone, he will have to pay the same amount. And if the poor person goes to a shop and if he tries to buy a mobile phone, he will also have to pay the same price. Means what? The tax which is levied on that mobile phone is equal for rich also and for poor also. The poor is, we can say, unable to pay high taxes, but still he will have to pay the tax. If he wants to buy the mobile phone, he will have to pay the tax. But rich person, for him, lower tax is just like negligible thing. We can say 18%, 20%, 28% tax is just normal thing for that particular rich person. Okay, so here the regressive system comes in. You are charging equally to rich people also and poor people also, which is, we can say, quite unfair if you talk in from the perspective of economic democracy. Okay, from this perspective, this system of charging equally to rich class also and poor class also is quite, we can say, quite discriminative. It's not actually discriminative, we can say, directly, but if you see the result, okay, from the backside, so you will understand that you cannot charge equal tax to rich people also and poor people also. So that is why we call this indirect taxes system as regressive taxation. And therefore I said that in India and majority countries in the world, they are having the combination of progressive taxation and regressive taxation. I hope you understood this concept clearly. Next one is tax, or we can say state sponsored welfare activities, which means what? Welfare of the society is basic duty of the state. Okay, where you have social democracy, where you have economic democracy, it is expected that the government should spend more money on the welfare of the society, especially for the downtrodden section, for the weaker section. Government should pay more attention to those people. Okay, so that is something which is expected by economic democracy. Next one is abolition of economic exploitation. Means what? Simply, government should make regulations so that it will be in favor of the workers and favor of, we can say, employers also. So in short, we can say that exploitation will be removed. You can take the example which I have mentioned in this screen, defining hours of work and minimum wage. Means what? If a particular labor is working in a particular factory or a particular company, he should not be forced to work for more than 8 hours. Right? In India, we have this system. We have 8 hours working system. Okay. So government is trying to regulate. Government is trying to give protection to the labor class by saying that no employer should force their employees to work for more than 8 hours in a day. Right? Secondly, minimum wage system is there, that those who are wage laborers, those all wage laborers should get minimum support from the government and from the employers also. So the laborers wages are also fixed, so employers are bound to give minimum wages. They cannot give less wages or less salary. So this way the government tries to, we can say, bring economic democracy in particular country. So it was all about economic democracy. Now let's look at the next point, that is political democracy. Now what is expected in political democracy? Here in the very first line you can see that it is a political system that is ruled by the people themselves directly or through their representatives. In this system there is a rule of people. Okay, rule of people, not by any king, not by any dictator or any one party or any one regime. People of the society will govern themselves, they will rule themselves. Okay, it can be whether directly or indirectly. Irrespective of that, the ultimate goal is people should be in power. Okay, in political democracy what we expect, that people should be in power, all people should be in power. So when we have direct democracy, people are directly participating in that. But when you have representative democracy, your representatives are chosen by the people, right? These representatives will take decision on behalf of people. So here we can say that rulers and ruled both are same, right? Rulers and ruled, because ultimately it's all about people. So people are in the government and people are in the society, so they themselves are, we can say, governing the society. So rulers and ruled both are almost same. Here in political democracy you get right to criticize your own government, because ultimately people have established, people have formed a particular government, and therefore people gets this right that if government is doing something wrong, if the government is taking a particular wrong decision, so in this case people can criticize the government. Okay, they have complete liberty to correct the mistakes of the government. Here you have freedom of press, speech and expression. Here media is, media gets complete freedom. There is no restriction on media. Free and, we can say, speech, freedom of speech is there. Whatever you think is better for your country, you can speak out publicly. You don't have to fear anyone. In political democracy, every citizen, every person gets equal opportunity to express himself. Okay, he can express or she can express himself or herself without any kind of fear. Even government cannot suppress the voice in such cases. And if government tries to suppress, we have judiciary to deliver justice to the people. Next one is free and fair elections. In democracy, we have representatives, especially in indirect democracy, we have representatives. So therefore, these representatives should be elected by someone, and ultimately people are going to elect the representatives. Hence, we have free and fair electoral system, wherein there will be no manipulation. There will be, we can say, no, manipulation by the political parties or political leaders. Ultimately, all the decisions will be taken up by the government, by the people themselves, and elections will be conducted free and fairly, and the justice should be seen as well. Okay, when you are declaring any result of election, it should be visible. Visible means what? All the data should be present in front of you. How which candidate has got how many votes, this like this, that ballot paper and voting machines, and now you have that VVPAT also, right, wherein you can cross check that which leader has got how many votes in this so and so particular election. So this way we can say transparency is maintained, And transparency in election is highly important. Okay, because if there is no transparency, then there is scope to believe that the elections are managed and manipulated, and therefore transparency is completely expected over here, and therefore we need free and fair elections in every political democracy. Not only that, in this political democracy, every person gets right to vote and contest elections. Okay, here you get the right to vote. Whichever leader you feel better, you can vote for him or her. And not only that, you can fight or contest elections if you are eligible. Like in India, we have 18 plus age. So if you are more than 18, so you can vote, and as per the legalities for local corporations and for state assemblies and for central election, that is Lok Sabha elections, you have different age limits. Like for Lok Sabha election, you need minimum 25 years of age to be completed. So the one who is above 25 years of age, he or she can contest elections for the Lok Sabha. So is the case with state assembly also, that is legislative assembly. Okay, so right here again you get the right to form the political parties and pressure groups to carry out political activities. This is the most important thing. So when you are thinking of contesting election, how will you contest? Either you can contest independently, or you need to form the political party or political organization through which you can contest election and you can get elected by the people. Next one is right to information. In political democracy, as I said in the beginning, it is expected to be transparent. All the things are expected to be transparent in democracy. So whatever decisions are taken by the government, those all decisions should be made public in democracy. So therefore, we have a Right to Information Act through which you can access any report of the government, except few, we can say, files which are we can say harmful, or which are, we can say, cannot be made public. For example, data of defense data cannot be revealed in public for security reasons, but remaining all those details which are available and which is not harmful is made available to the public, so that public can access any report of the government. And last one is, of course, rule of law. When you have democracy, the rule of law is expected. Whether what prime minister is saying or what president is saying or what a particular minister is saying doesn't matter, but what constitution is saying matters. Okay, so therefore, let any person be in power, let any political party be in power, that doesn't matter. These all people, these all political parties will have to function as per the law mentioned in the constitution. Every political party, every political leader, all of them will have to follow the rules and regulations mentioned in constitution. So therefore we say that the rule of law should prevail and not the rule of one person should be. Okay, so that is the reason due to which we give more importance to constitution, and as per the constitution, entire country functions. So that was the conclusion of political democracy. I hope it was knowledgeable and useful for you. So here I conclude the session and see you in next class. Thank you.